plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
Can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to not suggesting that I smuggle terrorists into the United States, right?
It's always
how can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
All right, y'all. What's going on? We're going to make this a real quick one because I got stuff to do in the morning. Luckily, this was a short press conference, but, everybody's in such an uproar about the MS-13 gang member who supposedly was afraid of another gang that might kill him. So he illegally fled to the United States, or came to the country illegally, and has been getting stay of executions despite getting deportations orders and everything. And for some reason, the Democrats want to die on this hill. The same people who wouldn't stand up for a little black boy who survived 13 brain surgeries and, who defend grown men hurting women in women's sports. The same people who don't care if women and little girls are getting raped and murdered by these same illegals. They just want chaos. And like when Trump said that CNN is anti-American, that they hate America, I mean, it's not like he's lying. The Democratic Party has really morphed into something very, very, very disgusting. Like, it's like their true colors have really come out. And the ugliness of them has really taken a front center stage. And it's not like, because the question was asked, like, so you're trying to say Republicans aren't racist? Like, look, there's racism in everybody. Black people act like white people cornered the market in racism. Like, please, like, are you kidding me? Just look at the WNBA. Look at some of these people who, do these little YouTube videos that they'll turn somebody sneezing on a train into some type of racial component. I mean, it's just ridiculous, and these are males. Like, so racism is everywhere. But let's go.
Good afternoon, everybody. President Trump campaigned on the promise to secure our homeland and deport violent alien criminals from our communities. That is why the American people overwhelmingly reelected him back to this office. And it's why the American people defeated the Democrat Party in devastating fashion. Today, we have officially learned Democrat officials still refuse to accept the will of the American people. Maryland Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen rushed to Dulles Airport this morning to fly to El Salvador, potentially using taxpayer dollars to demand the release of deported, illegal, alien MS-13 terrorist. The Democrats and the media in this room have continually and wrongly labeled Kilmar Abrego Garcia as a Maryland father. There is no Maryland father. Let me reiterate. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is an illegal alien, MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist who was deported back to his home country. And when Kilmar Abrego Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money covering the ears, mouth, and eyes of presidents on various currency denominations. This is a known MS-13 gang symbol of hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. Abrego Garcia was also arrested with two other well-known members of the vicious MS-13 gang. And two separate judges found that Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13, and that finding has never been disputed. And just this morning, it was revealed through Maryland court documents that Abrego Garcia's wife petitioned for an order of protection against him for 2 instances of domestic violence in May of 2021. And here is the order right here. The court ordered that the respondent committed the following acts of abuse. Once in May of 2021, assault in any degree. And on May 4th of 2021, he punched and scratched his wife, ripped off her shirt, and grabbed and bruised her. This is from a court in Maryland. So not only are Democrats rushing to defend an illegal criminal foreign terrorist gang member, but also an apparent woman beater. To set all of that aside, the basic fact that he was illegally inside our country and had a lawful deportation order made him subject to removal back to his home country of El Salvador. And if he ever ends up back in the United States, he would immediately be deported again. Nothing will change the fact that Abrego Garcia will never be a Maryland father. He will never live in the United States of America again. And the United States Supreme Court ruled unanimously that the President of the United States and the Secretary of State could not be compelled to forcibly retrieve this citizen of El Salvador who is currently locked up in a maximum security prison in his home country due to his MS-13 membership. To remind the media and the Democrat Party, MS-13 are among the most vicious and dangerous individuals in this world. They pose a direct threat to the United States, El Salvador, and any other country who maintains basic law and order. MS-13 rapes innocent girls and women, runs sex trafficking operations, murders for sport, and terrorizes law-abiding people. That's why El Salvador President Bukele made it clear this week that he will not be releasing this MS-13 gang member from his prison. But that is not enough. All of that is not enough to stop the Democrat Party from their lies. The number one issue they are focused on right now is bringing back this illegal alien terrorist to America. But where are the Democrats applauding the fact that southern border crossings just hit a historic low? Where are the Democrats supporting our brave men and women of law enforcement who are putting their lives on the line every single day to arrest the violent illegal alien invaders that the previous administration allowed into our country? And where are the Democrats when innocent Americans are victimized by illegal criminals that Joe Biden let in? It's appalling and sad that Senator Van Hollen and the Democrats applauding his trip to El Salvador today are incapable of having any shred of common sense or empathy for their own constituents and our citizens. Nobody knows this more than the woman standing to my right, Patty Morin, whose beautiful daughter Rachel was brutally maimed and murdered at the hands of an illegal alien in August of 2023. Patty no longer has her daughter because of the failed Democrat Party's open border, and these are policies that President Trump is bringing an end to. Patty should not have to be here today, but she is. And we are grateful and we are honored for her willingness and her request to share her powerful story with the world. Thank you, Patty, for being here.
Thank you. A lot of you don't know the whole story about Rachel. end about the crime that was committed against her. Even us, her family, we didn't know all the details. They kept most of it close to their chest, the detectives, because they didn't want to do anything to hurt the case. They wanted to keep the integrity of the case, so they kept everything close. I sat for the last 2 weeks in her trial, and we saw layer upon layer upon layer of evidence against the accused, an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. And the things that we thought, well, maybe this might have happened, we didn't know. But when we were at the trial, we got all the puzzle pieces. And I want to share some of those things with you. You know that Rachel's a 37-year-old mother. She has 5 children. We've walked the trail for the last 25 years that we've lived in Maryland. It's a safe place for our family. It's where we go to get a little bit of New England, because that's where we're from, New England. When she went on that trail that day, she was not planning on dying. She wasn't planning on walking to her death. She was planning on going to the grocery store with her girls afterwards. Victor Martinez, he waited for her.
What's up, Simi?
He waited for her to come closer. He saw her. He saw that there was nobody around. He attacked her. He dragged her 150 feet, blood gushing from her head. It left a 150-foot trail of her blood to the culverts, where he picked her up, he threw her against the wall of the tunnel, and he raped her. But before he did that, he stopped on that trail, and rocks, still stained with her blood, he used them to hammer her head against those rocks. They say at least 20 times they could count the cuts in her head. They said that when they did the autopsy, and I've seen the pictures, there's a 6-inch square in the back of her head where the skull is shattered the way that you would crush an eggshell in pieces. 3/4 of her brain hemorrhaged. Her right and left side of her face bashed in. Her beautiful face bashed in. Her head bashed in. Broken bones, fractures. He takes and he drags her some more. He drags her through the thorn bushes. She has all the scrapes and cuts on her body. There wasn't 1 inch of her body that didn't have some kind of injury, whether it's bruising, broken bones, contusions, the scratches. She had a fractured rib, fractured nose, fractured skull. And then he takes her into the tunnel and he picks her up. He throws her against the wall. Blood is gushing from her head. Her hair is soaked in blood. And they showed us pictures of her body against the wall, outlined. The blood outlined her body. And you could see where the blood ran down around her as he was raping her. And then he threw her down and raped her some more. And then he strangled her because he didn't want her to be able to live to tell the story. They said that when they did the autopsy on her neck, that one of the things they do is they open up the neck and they look to see how far the injury is. And they went all the way down as far as an injury is possible, hemorrhaging in the muscles because of how strong and violent the group was around her.
Let me show y'all who they talking about. It's about this case right here. Like, because this guy, they were looking for him for a rape of an underage girl out in California, but they couldn't find him. So then he wound up, for some reason, all the way out, and he was able to, You get the idea. Let's get back.
These are the kind of people that have no compulsion. Like, to them, this is nothing. And when he was sitting in the courtroom, he actually looked like he thought he was going to be set free. There was no remorse on his face at all. This person took my daughter so violently and so gruesomely and so graphically that they sealed the pictures, because I don't want my granddaughters to see these pictures. These are the kind of criminals President Trump wants to remove from our country. These are the kind of criminals that we need to remove from our country. We are American citizens. Why should we allow people like this, violent criminals that have no conscience at all, to murder our mothers, our sisters, our daughters? What? I don't understand why there's even any kind of problem with this. And it's not that it's political, like the left or the right, although I understand different parties have used it in the past. But we have to look at it as we are American citizens. We need to protect our families, our borders, our children. I don't care about politics. Well, I do, but I want to preserve life. And that's the only reason why I have taken and spoken about Rachel all this time. If you're a mother here in the room, can you imagine standing there alive? You're alive, and someone comes and puts their hands into your chest and rips out your heart. That's what it feels like. It feels like a part of you is being ripped out of you. You can't even describe the pain. Just like you can't describe to your husband what it feels like to carry a baby in your womb, or to feel those first kicks, or to know just intuitively if it's a boy or a girl. It's only a thing that a mother knows. Why are we not protecting the American citizens? It's just common sense. Why are we not protecting our children? And to have a senator from Maryland who didn't even acknowledge or barely acknowledged my daughter and the brutal death that she endured, leaving her 5 children without a mother and now a grandbaby without a grandmother, so that he can use my taxpayer money to fly to El Salvador to bring back someone that's not even an American citizen.
He should be
why does that person
he should be under indictment
more
for using
right
taxpayer funds,
than I
legally using taxpayer
for
funds,
my daughter,
because that was
for my
very
grandchildren?
stupid.
I don't understand this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to say that as a mother and as an American citizen,
A new mother. That's
President,
why
our entire team, and I
he's
hope people
beaming.
in this room are grateful for your willingness to come here and your request to share your daughter's story. And I think the country hears you loud and clear. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Patty or for me? No?
I have a question.
Up here from California.
Anybody? We'll see you all later.
Wow. Wait, hold up.
Grateful for your willingness to come here and your request to share your daughter's story.
Hold up. What
and
just
I think
happened?
The country hears you loud and clear. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Patty or for me?
All right, so you got 1, 2, the California cutie, 3. People got their hands up. Everybody else is just like, this guy's looking like, what the hell? Like, what do y'all have to ask? Even this chick is looking like, I'm sorry, what type of question y'all want to ask? Everybody wants to know. Oh, look, here's old Caitlin Collins. She's back in the newsroom. But I think this is more than like, it looks like she just asked that question rhetorically, because as far as they're concerned, this is like almost like a moment of silence. Oh, here's two more people with their hands up. This guy back here and this person right here. Looks like a guy, can't really tell. Shirt looks kind of feminine. It looks like lady fingers. Can't really tell though. Oh, and the black guy here, he got his hand up. But what happened? Something happened. Let me see. I think she just decided not to take the questions. Let's see.
No? I have a question. No? Anybody? Okay. We'll see you all later. The president will be at his dinner later this evening. Thank you for being here this morning. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, she didn't want to take any questions. She just asked out of courtesy. Say DHS should have pulled his passport while he was in El Salvador, yeah. Oh my God. Department of Homeland Security. So yeah, that was that. And then of course, they asked, they had to talk to Tom Homan. They wanted to know what he thought.
Democrats are headed down to El Salvador. What's your message to them?
We're not going to change anything. We remove terrorists from this country. They're where they should be, and then we're not enough. What y'all be doing, y'all be in sanctuary cities in this country, taking action against the Maryland father, the Maryland illegal alien, not a father, Maryland illegal alien was arrested in the country illegally, arrested for murder, and released to the public, and it took ICE to go find them. If the Democrats will spend some time in Boston, and in Los Angeles, and Portland, and Maryland, they go to these sanctuary cities. I don't care what party you're affiliated with, Republican, Democrat, Independent, we all should want.
Yeah, I turned on the closed captions because the mic he had stepped away from the main mic.
Secure communities. We also want public safety to be number one on their agenda. I can't believe there's any Democrat politician who does not want public safety threats out of the community. Their number one responsibility is protection of the communities. But they'd rather go to El Salvador than fix the problem we just talked about in Maryland, fix the problem of Boston, fix the problem that just happened in Washington State. 2 illegal aliens tortured a woman, left her for dead by drilling on her to give her money, access to ATM stuff. But they're going to go to El Salvador. Makes zero sense, and that just shows how out of touch reality the Democratic Party. Mr. Holman, the deadline.
Start again.
With here's this idiot, Chris Van Hollen, the Maryland Democrat. Instead of being there at that woman's funeral and everything, this fool literally understand he did this for show. This is all. I mean, it was really a 23-minute video. But I watched most of it, and it was a lot of stop and start because it was being translated, because he's in El Salvador right now. But he went down there to the grandstand and put on the show like he was doing something. But, in all honesty, if I was the taxpayers, if I was the people in his council or whatnot, like, we're not paying for that. If you go to El Salvador to waste time, you're going to do it on your dime. Not the taxpayers. They should have him investigated for that. They should see if he did that. If he spent taxpayer money to do that, he should be booted out of office.
So I just met with the vice president of El Salvador. I'm grateful for the meeting. The president is out of the country at this time.
Well, yeah, he's in Washington, D.C. He was a car ride away from you.
So I appreciated the chance to talk to the vice president about the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
What did he say? Yeah, they're doing the translation. What did the VP say?
And we started the conversation on a point of agreement, which is that our two countries should work together to crack down on transnational gangs like MS-13.
Right. So if you both agree with that, then why are you here? Like, because as Miller said, yeah, okay, if we send the flight to go get him.
And I told the vice president that for over 2 decades, I have worked in my state of Maryland to crack down on MS-13.
Well, clearly not. But like Stephen Miller said, if he comes back, they're just going to deport him again to El Salvador or someplace worse.
And look forward to further efforts to make sure that we crack down on violent gangs.
So why do you want him back? This guy has a criminal record, both in El Salvador and in America.
I think that's important to underscore because the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia does not have to do with MS-13.
Yes, it does. Why are you lying?
If you listen to President Trump and the Trump administration, you would think that the U.S. courts have found that Mr. Abrego Garcia is part of MS-13, but in fact, they have not found that. In fact, recently, a U.S. federal court judge said that the Trump administration did not have evidence to support the claim that he had ever been part of MS-13.
When he was arrested, he had MS-13 insignia, and he was with 2 other MS-13 members. What, he was at a family barbecue? They were his cousins? What are you telling us? Why would another gang want to kill him?
In fact, Mr. Abrego Garcia is legally in the United States.
Actually, no, he wasn't. People that are legally in the United States do not have deportation orders.
An immigration judge found years ago that it would put his life in danger if he was returned to El Salvador.
So what? Whose lives are more important, his or for Americans?
And so he was given protective status and a work permit.
With a deportation order hanging over his head.
And by the way, that was done during the last Trump administration, the last time President Trump was in office, and they never appealed that decision.
Because he was busy doing other things. We can all admit to that.
So I want to emphasize that President Trump and our Attorney General Pam Bondi and the Vice President of the United States are lying when they say that Abrego Garcia has been charged with a crime or is part of MS-13. That is a lie.
Now, y'all heard Caroline read that guy's criminal jacket, right? At the start of her press conference. Okay.
And this is a lie to cover up what they did. So what did they do?
They deported an illegal immigrant back to his home country.
So they illegally abducted Mr. Abrego Garcia from Maryland and sent him to CICA, which is a notorious prison here in El Salvador.
Well, if it's so illegal, then how come he's not standing there with you? What happened? What happened? If it's illegal, he should be right there with you, right?
In fact, it's a prison where they say they send the worst of the worst, right? That's where they send the terrorists.
And the president of El Salvador said the reason why he fled was because he shot a cop in the leg.
Now, the courts of the United States,
when he was 16,
have said there's no evidence to support the charge that he's part of MS-13. So I asked the vice president whether or not El Salvador has any evidence that he's part of MS-13 or has committed a crime.
And what did El Salvador say? What did they say to you when you asked for him back? We'd like to know.
suyo es si El Salvador tiene pruebas de que el señor Abrego García sí es.
So I asked the vice president if Abrego Garcia has not committed a crime, and the U.S. courts have found that he was illegally taken from the United States, and the government of El Salvador has no evidence that he was part of MS-13. Why is El Salvador continuing?
You mean that they didn't answer your question? Is that what you're really saying? They didn't answer your question because who are you? I mean, the sheer arrogance of a senator to go to a foreign country and tell them, well, we want your citizen back in our country. I mean, you know, El Salvador Drake said it best. Like, what am I gonna do? Smuggle them back into the United States? You think I'm gonna let, you know, somebody that's deemed a terrorist, both here and abroad, back in? You think I'm gonna smuggle them back into your country? Like, you grandstanding, bruh. You grandstanding. It's so funny. He said, y'all saw a poster with him and his baby. The arms look retouched to cover his tattoos. Thanks for confirming my suspicions. Yeah, he had them tattoos all over his arms when they showed him in the holding cell, whatnot. Yeah. What's the deeper context of this issue is Trump derangement syndrome. That's all it is. That's all it is. Yeah, because I'm white and I said so. Yeah, well, they're brown and they told you to. Yeah, but that's all it is. It's just Trump derangement syndrome. That's all.
Continuing to hold him in
their
secret.
hubris will be the
Trump administration accuses attorney.
Their hubris, the Democratic Party's hubris, will be is literally being the death of them. Plus their criminal activity, as we're about to delve into the Letitia James situation. Excuse me. They have been stealing so much money under the Biden administration because, you know, he was asleep at the wheel, that they almost bankrupted this country. And now they're getting caught for it. Let's see. You had the guy from the Social Security Administration. He got arrested. Let's see. Hold on. Oops. Let's see here. I'm making sure I see it. There's dates. I want to make sure that I get the. Oops. Let's see. This month. Wow. Wow. All right, we'll deal with that later. But if I am the Green Party, because right now the Green Party is the third strongest party out there. If I'm the Green Party, I am 100% taking advantage of this whole situation. I am aiming for the midterms. I would be aiming for the midterms. They have been so quiet because I guess they're a grassroots organization, but no, y'all gonna have to start getting some money behind y'all. You have to start getting some money behind you because you're so quiet. It's like you guys don't exist. Sure, you showed up as independents. The independents voted for you in this previous election, but then you all went away. It's not working for you. It's not working for you. And right now, if I put it to you like this, if you can't get, or you don't want to use big money donors behind you, social media is your ticket. It's free advertising. Social media is the cost of your phone bill and your internet service. You need to be making your TikToks, your Instagrams, your YouTube channels, all of these social media sites, and not doing goofy little dances or anything like that. but showing yourselves, drafting bills, creating measures, but most importantly, working with the Republican Party. You need to work with the Republican Party, especially when there isn't a Republican presence in your area. But you need to work with the Republican Party to find out. I know I'm broken record with this. Find out where those gold ticket jobs are going. See if you can get them in your area. Find empty lots. Find a working class age demographic in your area and start selling your districts. That's the only thing that's going to save you. That's the only thing that's going to get you in these seats. You have to sell your districts. You have to sell your districts. You just can't sit there and pound your fists and talk about reparations and all of that. Nobody wants to hear that crap. The Democrats have been lying to black people and lesbian white women for the longest, and the gays, well, the trans now. You need to reach out to the working class people, the same whites, the same blacks, even the same LGBTQ people. You need the same Hispanics, the same Asians that vote. You need to reach out to those people. And the best way to do that is to bring businesses, jobs into the community, because that's what's popping right now. That's what's popping right now. Get the pedophile trans people out of the school system. Get the pedophile men, the loser males, those, you know what they like to call mediocre males. Yeah, get those mediocre males out of women's sports. You need to be on the Republican side on all these issues, because, I mean, like they say, these are 80-20, now 90-10 situations. The Democrats just won't stop. And now they're creating violence. I mean, you tried to burn down the governor's mansion. You're attacking people in the streets over cars and protests and everything. You need to be the new face of the political party. Show some adulthood and some sanity. If not, I mean, then you'll just continue to, be that guy that's always running for class president that doesn't get any votes. Anyway, so we are Brown turnaround. It's the economy, stupid. Yeah, let's bring that back. All right, so let's get into this with Letitia James.
Attorney General Tish James of mortgage fraud. They allege in court documents that in 2023, James granted her power of attorney to make a Norfolk, Virginia property her principal residence, despite her actually living and serving as Attorney General in New York. They also allege she bought a 5-family property in Brooklyn in 2001 with a loan that is only available for homes.
That's the Bill Cosby brownstone. Y'all remember the Cosby Show? Those are the type of brownstones that they lived in. They lived in a brownstone like that. Anyway.
With 4 units or less.
Hold on.
2001, Attorney General in New York. They also allege she bought a 5-family property in Brooklyn in 2001 with a loan that is only available for homes with 4 units or less. Alice Gaynor explains the accusations and the politics involved.
The head of the Federal Housing Finance Agency alleges New York Attorney General Letitia James may have committed mortgage fraud related to a Virginia home and a New York property. And so he sent Attorney General Pam Bondi a criminal referral letter.
I saw it on breaking news this morning. This case was sent to us from Bill Pulte. We have not seen it. I inquired right before I walked out here. No one in my office has read it yet. We haven't looked at it. Of course, we'll be reviewing it.
The allegations in that letter claim James listed the Virginia home as her main residence and that she misrepresented her Brooklyn property as having fewer units. All, he writes, in order to allegedly secure more favorable loan terms. It's also alleged James and her father signed mortgage documents in 1983 stating they were husband and wife. You may recall AG James filed a civil lawsuit against President Trump and the Trump Organization for inflating property values to get more favorable loan and insurance terms. She won, and they were fined hundreds of millions of dollars.
He said he was going to go after his enemies. He declared he would be going after his enemies. And he's finally gotten down to maybe the J's on his list, Tish James. He's going to keep going.
Governor Hope.
I don't understand the problem. I mean, you guys weaponized the DOJ against him with Letitia James and Fonnie Willis, Eric, not Eric Holder, the guy there in Alvin Bragg. You weaponized the justice system against him. You ruled against him illegally in several court cases. That's why you have these goofy people running around here talking about some 34 felonies, and then you ask them to list the felonies, and the first thing they say, he was found guilty of rape. No, he wasn't. Ask MSNBC if he was guilty of rape, or is it CNN? One of them, he sued them and won a $15 million settlement for slander. Like, you even tried to have him assassinated a few times. And now that, again, you went for the king and you missed, and now that his vengeance is upon thee, rightful vengeance is upon thee, now you have a problem because you're scared. And the American people are not buying it. Nobody's trying to protect you all from this. You did this to yourselves. You did this to yourselves. You shouldn't have tried to bankrupt him and throw him in prison and then try to murder the man. You're getting your just desserts.
Hochul was asked several questions about the allegations.
I'm going to allow her to have a chance to explain all this.
Attorney General James is focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers, especially as this administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She will not be intimidated by bullies, no matter who they are. Legal expert Nicole Bernecki.
There is a statute of limitation. I think that is why that last instance where she allegedly declared her husband, her father, her husband, that was mentioned the last in the letter, because it's just, I think, inflammatory at this point because it was so long ago.
James has not been charged with anything.
Not
Alice
yet.
Gaynor, CBS News, New York.
Not yet, but trust me, chick. You did all that mouth running. Now here they come. And speaking of a loudmouth heifer, the FEC opens probe of Representative Jasmine Crockett donations. This was on the 10th. I meant to bring this to y'all 6 days ago. Gets a little wild. The Federal Election Commission opened an investigation into firebrand rep Jasmine Crockett regarding donations to her 2024 campaign made through Act Blue, a Democrat fundraising powerhouse organization. The Coolidge Reagan Foundation, a conservative advocacy group, what is wrong with me, made the FEC complaint on March 26, as first reported by the Daily Signal. On April 2nd, the FEC notified the Coolidge Reagan Foundation it would review the matter and notify Crockett. The respondents will be notified of this complaint within 5 business days. Wanda D. Brown, the FEC Assistant General Counsel for Complaints Examination and Legal Administration, said in the letter, "You will be notified as the Federal Election Commission takes final action on your client's complaint. Should you receive any additional information in this matter, please forward it to the Office of General Counsel." Brown wrote the letter to Dan Becker, a Washington lawyer representing the Coolidge Reagan Foundation. The FEC opened an investigation. There is a process, but they are investigating, Becker told the Daily Signal. Yeah, I'm about to say, they better mention Sheldon Daniels, because Sheldon Daniels was the one who raised the flag. The complaints reference a specific suspect donor reported to have given 53 separate donations totaling $595 to Crockett's campaign through the Act Blue portal. The suspect donor, and actually it wasn't $595. It was a lot more than that. I think that's a typo, because Sheldon Daniels went to that woman's house and spoke to her, and it was in the thousands. The suspect donor was a 73-year-old Texas resident named Randy Best, according to the FEC complaint. However, Best's wife, in a video promoted by one of Crockett's opponents for 2026, Sheldon Daniels, denied knowing anything about the donations. The complaint contends this possibly means Best and potentially other donors through ActBlue did not make the donations listed under their names. Here it is. Jasmine Crockett received $16,000 in political contributions from an elderly retired couple. Sheldon Daniels, who's running against Jasmine Crockett, went to their house to confirm the contributions, and they had no idea what these charges were. Here it is. Let's play the video. All right, here we go.
Guys, so I'm about to go to Randy Best's house, introduce myself, and just ask them straight up if they contributed to Jasmine's campaign, if they contributed that amount, and why they like her so much, because I might be able to learn a little bit of something while I'm up here. I'm way up here in Collin County. I'm in Plano, Texas, very far from TX30. It's very peculiar that somebody up here would give that much money to a candidate in our district. Maybe they have a special connection to the district. Let's go find out. I'm not going to film them. I'm not going to put any faces or anything on there. I'm just going to have my camera down at the ground. I'm going to be standing in a public, area in open air. I'm just, recording what's going on around me. Let's see what happens. All right, here's the house. Here's the house right here. Here we go. How do you do, ma'am?
No soliciting.
I'm not here. I'm not a solicitor. I'm Attorney Sheldon Daniels.
Okay.
Is there a Randy Best who lives here?
That's my husband.
Yeah. I just want to verify. Are you guys aware that you were charged over $16,000 last year? Yeah. I have a list of charges. I'm just here to verify that you guys know about this. $16,240 in political contributions to a candidate named Jasmine Crockett. Do you remember that at all? Does your husband remember that at all?
I don't know. He's on the road on his way to Colorado.
Okay. It says here that he's not employed. Is he employed now?
No, we're retired.
Okay. I can leave this with you if you want. It's got your information on it.
Yeah, you can just leave it on the table.
Yes, ma'am. You mind if I take a picture?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Okay, guys, so I just drove by the home of this Randy Best guy. This guy, he's a 73-year-old retiree, unemployed. He and his wife, I guess they just travel around in an RV or something. I don't know, but he's on the road. His wife answered the door. She said that they had no idea what these charges were, and they had no idea that they were charged $16,000 or that they are responsible for $16,000 in political contributions to Jasmine Crockett. Yeah, she has them listed as political contributors. Now, mind you, I'm way up here in Plano. I'm in a totally different county. I'm in Collin County right now. The only reason why I'm even able to do this is because I practice law all over North Texas and I drive all over. So I know North Texas very well. Collin County, Dallas County, Tarrant County, Denton County, Grayson County. A lot of shady stuff going on with Jasmine Crockett. And I see why she was doing all this, because she's trying to distract from the corruption. I wonder how deep it goes.
Yeah, so because y'all know I like to show my work. It's the Washington Stand. They're saying Democratic fundraiser ActBlue faces allegations of fraud and terrorism ties. All right, this was put out March 17th. Okay, so a month ago. Allegations of fraud and sponsorship of terrorism-linked organizations have enveloped the Democratic Party fundraising platform ActBlue, which could soon be facing criminal prosecution as lawmakers urged the Trump administration to investigate the organization. Founded in 2004, ActBlue is a payment processing organization that is used by Democratic political campaigns at the federal, state, and local levels to raise funds. Having brought in over $16 billion over the last 2 decades, concerns over the practices of the organization have been raised since at least 2023, when Representative Brian Steele, Republican out of Wisconsin, and then Senator Marco Rubio warned that ActBlue did not require donors to provide the 3-digit security code on the back of credit cards, which they noted raised the risk of fraudulent and unverifiable donations to be made. After ActBlue added the security card verification to their website, observers pointed out that funds could still be donated through untraceable methods like PayPal, Google Pay, and Venmo, as well as prepaid gift cards. Then in October of last year, ActBlue was subpoenaed by a House committee over evidence that the platform may have been used by foreign actors such as China, Russia, Iran, and Venezuela to funnel donations by exploiting the IDs of existing U.S. donors without their knowledge, known as smurfing, which breaks down large amounts of money into hundreds or thousands of smaller donations of $5, $10, $15, or $20. This is why, the sidebar, this is why they want to, one of the biggest reasons why they want China to sell TikTok. Because ever since that became a thing where it looked like that it was going to happen, TikTok has been steadily pushing for me to, you need to update your banking information so we can deposit this money. They've been pushing. And I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't trust you. People sitting up here bitching, moaning, whining, crying, and complaining about, Elon Musk. The guy who used to own PayPal that already has your information. They're worried about him. Meanwhile, you've got China who, they're our allies. Let Tiffany Cross tell it. And other countries sitting up here nickel and diming you to death through your bank accounts. You got ActBlue literally stealing from you. These are your Democratic Party friends. Anyway, ActBlue's troubles mounted further last week when Darrell Issa, Republican out of California, vice chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, sent a letter to the Treasury Department demanding an investigation into the organization over its alleged handling of payments that could support terror. Issa cited 2 terror-linked entities, the Palestinian Campaign for the Academic and Cultural Boycott of Israel, PACBI, and the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, USCPR. As noted by the Free Press, PACBI is based in the region of Judea and Samaria and is a founding member of the BDS National Committee, which has included a Palestinian coalition represented by Hamas and other terrorist organizations. The U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights has also been linked to the BDS National Committee. And y'all were wondering, how like once a month, like women be complaining about how their food stamp cards got totally wiped out and everything. At first, I thought it was because they were using the punch pads at like convenience stores or whatnot. No, turns out there are these machines where you can put your EBT card in and withdraw cash. It's cash for EBT. They're like ATM. They're specific ATM. And those machines are stealing people's data. So then once a month, they just decide, let's just wipe this person's stuff out. Wiping out a whole swath of people who have used those machines. They should be illegal. But keep in mind, those machines didn't really come about until the Biden administration. So what can I tell you? Act Blue's terror ties extended beyond Issa's letter, the Washington Examiner reported Monday. The Arab Resource and Organizing Center and USCPR helped organize the People's Conference for Palestine in May of 2024, a conference endorsed by Salah Salah, a founding member of the PFLP, Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, which, while soliciting funds through Act Blue. The U.S. designated the PFLP as a foreign terrorist organization in 1997. It has hijacked planes, carried out suicide attacks, besieged synagogues, and bombed civilians, among other violent acts, according to the U.S. Office of the Director of National Intelligence. That's why they're kicking out, the Trump administration is kicking out and deporting a lot of people who are here on student visas that were supporting Hamas and terrorizing Jewish students. And I know, look, I get it. Where I stand is what's going on over there in Israel, Palestine. Yes, it's messed up, but it's not my problem. Not my problem, because neither side likes me. So I'm not sticking my nose in their business. It's a hold your own nut situation. We've been forced as black people, and now especially black men, to hold our own nuts. I'm not trying to, why would I look like holding somebody else's nuts? But what's going on here on these American campuses where the Jewish kids are being terrorized? Look, I'm not, look, take that overseas. Don't do that here. This is America. Everybody has the right to live peacefully, but don't be bringing your Muslim terrorism over here. Take your conflict back to your home country. And if you don't like it, you want to scream death to America, there's no, look, as I told somebody, I was like, look, there is freedom here in America. There is freedom of speech, but there's no such thing in America as freedom of consequences. So if you want to sit up there and chant from the river to the sea and death to America and all of this stuff, like, I don't care if you didn't touch anybody. If you don't like it here, you ain't got to go home, but you getting the hell up out of here. And we don't care how many silly black women and goofy white folks want to call themselves protesting outside of a detention center. Like, you do understand, we used to hang people for treason. You know that, right? We used to hang people for treason. We really can charge you with treason because you're pro-terrorist. You're anti-American. We can't deport you, but we can jail you for that. Just so you know. If Trump was the Nazi fascist dictator that y'all said he was, a lot of y'all would have been rounded up and thrown into camps right now for sedition. The Democratic Fund has also been tied to organizations that praised the October 7th Hamas terror attack that killed 1,200 Israelis, as well as the boycott, divestment, and sanctions National Committee, a coalition that includes terrorist organizations. Getting back to the whole terrorizing the Jewish kids. Look, we as black people, we don't stand for it. What if that was black kids that was at that school? What if it was the actual white supremacists terrorizing black kids at that school? You'd be screaming bloody murder, right? Like, yeah. Like, I mean, you can sympathize, but some things are bigger than you. But that stuff right there, you doing it here on American soil? No, we're not gonna stand for that. Because now you're disrupting my peace. Black kids go to these schools too. Their parents pay tuition too. Ain't nobody got time for. Matter of fact, speaking of that whole Harvard situation, Harvard is the most expensive community college in the world, as far as I'm concerned. They want to push that radical left-wing agenda. Then they want to sit up here and promote anti-Semitism or thumb their nose at it. Like, well, then you don't get any money. And if anybody is smart, they would pull their kids out of that school so quick. Can't send them to England. They're just as bad. They let Muslim gang rape your daughter and dare you to say something about it, they throw you in jail. So what do you do? You know, what do you do? Matter of fact, I was watching something where one white chick, she was saying that a lot of people now who went to Harvard, they're afraid to say they went to Harvard. They just say they went to Cambridge. Like, wow. Yeah, because Harvard is such a mess. Oh, wait, let me catch up with y'all and see what y'all saying. My bad. The identity theft, right? Like, that's not all. They're using folks' names and addresses to make donations on your behalf. Some of those funds may be from USAID. Yeah, although USAID has been destroyed, thank God. Excuse me. Say Pennsylvania issued a warning about that. EBT theft via point of purchase and EBT transfer machines. Yeah. Some Pitt and Carnegie Mellon students got the boot. Yeah, get the hell up out of here. Remember they ran up on that chick? She was doing all of that river to the sea stuff, and then all of a sudden the plane closed. Officers ran up on her. Aren't you Halima la 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 la? Come here. They ran up on her, snatched her right up on the street. Come on, chick, we got you a flight. We gonna get you some rest. We gonna make sure you make your flight, baby. Your flight leave early in the morning. During Friday's edition of Washington Watch, Article 3 Project Senior Counsel Wilt Chamberlain observed not Wilt, observed that officials within ActBlue are beginning to exit the organization. Yeah, because they don't want to get caught up in a criminal organization, but you know, rats on a sinking ship. Oh, wow, I'm getting ahead of myself. Now that people are investigating it, something like 7 or 8 senior ActBlue officials have simply left the organization. The lawyers are leaving the organization. This is rats fleeing a sinking ship. Yeah. Chamberlain went on to explain the significance of how smurfing can give political campaigns a massive illegal advantage over their competition. And it also makes you wonder, how did Kamala Harris get that $1.2 billion or whatever? And because Lindy Lee, she was like, I didn't raise that much. Like, I don't know where all that other money came from. He said, okay, so if you have one donor who wants to give hard money to a campaign, say $500,000 in hard money, they're not allowed to do that under our law, he explained. But you can only give something like $2,600 a person. If you want to give $500,000, normally you have to give it to a PAC or something. But if you have a way to pretend that this $500,000 was actually from 250 small donors on ActBlue, then all of a sudden you've magically created $500,000 in hard money. I've worked on campaigns before. Hard money is like gold. There's just so little of it, and the scarcity of hard money is kind of what keeps campaign staff small and limits the ability of campaigns to do what they want to do. So if ActBlue has been essentially creating straw donors who set up fake small donors to allow big money to come in behind their candidates, I mean, that's a massive scandal. Yeah. That's almost like on the damn it, that's what the governor and Eric Adams was doing when he was taking money from from Turkey. You know, they was dropping him $150K was the most they could donate, and they just kept dropping him $150K, you know, to, you know, as far as in intervals to avoid suspicion. As if it's not suspicious that, you know, why is the Turkish government giving you $150K once a month? Like, what's going on here? Why are you catching flights, not villains, out to Turkey? Like, what's going on? First class? Like, you on a private jet? Going to Turkey? Who facilitated it? That's why him and Tom Homan, best buddies. Like, please don't throw me in jail. Chamberlain predicted that AgBlue and Democratic politicians who benefited from the platform could be held criminally liable if the allegations proved to be true. Yeah. AgBlue itself would get shut down and it could be a criminal defendant, he surmised. I mean, you could actually charge the organization criminally. The board legally exposed all of the senior officers. If the campaigns didn't know about it, they're probably not criminally liable. But there is still probably some FEC requirement that they return some of the monies. And if they were knowing plots to exploit the vulnerabilities I just talked about, then there's criminal liability for the politicians in their campaigns as well. So, I ain't donating y'all nothing. That's why Jasmine Crockett is under investigation. They got her. They got her. Oh, wait.
RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is the
It's a category of crime.
Trump said, Eric, for a vegan, you sure like turkey? Okay, Eric, for a vegan, you sure like turkey? You be catching them flights, boy. So, all right. Let me get out of here. Like I said, I wasn't gonna do a long show. I got things to do in the morning. I gotta be up at freaking 6 o'clock in the morning, man. But I will catch y'all tomorrow. Y'all be safe.
What do you have? Go ahead. No, that's enough. Go ahead.
But that wasn't my question.
The problem is you don't write the truth. So, as far as I'm concerned, I want to go to the next
Can
one.
I ask you a question about
No, not CNN, please. Go ahead.
The White House is not
You don't.
on
I told you. CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me. Go ahead, please.
But he says he was retaliated against, and that's why he was removed from his job. Do you have a response to that?
Okay, next question.
Mr. President, I have...
Because Trump bad. Trump bad. All right. Bye. Thanks for the fun.